Hello dear viewers and welcome back to the Whoniversals? My name is Brendan, aka Brandy Bongos, and like many of you at home, I am not wearing proper trousers. So what am I wearing? You'll find out at the end of the video. I'd like to thank Matt for inviting me onto the Whoniversals Master Month, and today I will be ranking all of the Master and Missys plans, from worst to best. A few rules before we start. I'm only going with televised Doctor Who, nothing against the novels, the audios and the comics, but I simply haven't experienced them all, and we would also be here all day if I were to include all of the Master's plans from all of those, so just sticking to TV for now. And still, I've come up with 31 plans to rank for you today. I'm going to be ranking them with such criteria as cunningness, cleverness, completedness, and collateral damage, because let's face it, there's a lot of that involved with the Master and Missy. Obviously, a spoiler warning is now in effect for every story featuring the Master or Missy. You've been warned. And of course, if you disagree with my ranking, or if I've missed any Master or Missy plans, be sure to let me know down in the comments. And I know you will, because we're Doctor Who fans. But without any further ado, let's start with the Master's worst plan, at number 31. And this is the Master's plan to prevent the signing of Magna Carta in the King's Demons. Even the Doctor himself says that the Master's plan here is small-time villainy. It just seems like the Master's plan here is so small beans that it's only going to affect a little tiny bit of history. He's just doing it for the hell of it. But maybe this is the Master's equivalent of a Sunday off. Coming in at number 30, it's the Master's plan in Mark of the Rani. While the Rani has her own agenda in this story that doesn't involve the Doctor, the Master's raison d'etre here is to take revenge on the Doctor, and that is always their most boring quality when they go ahead with that. There's also some talk about perverting Earth's technological development, but really, the Master's whole motivation here is to try and chuck the Doctor down a pit for all of episode 1, and then when that doesn't work, mooch around with the Rani for a bit? Coming in at number 29, it's the Time Monster. The Master's plan here doesn't make a lot of sense. He wants to capture Kronos the Chronivore. Why, exactly? All Kronos can do is eat time, so is the Master going to try and use it as a weapon? And it's evidently uncontrollable unless you have this giant crystal, which is really hard to get. Meanwhile, with just a fraction of the crystal, the Master can bring forward things in time. We see him do it with bombs and soldiers, so why not just do that? That's a really solid plan. Bringing forward dinosaurs. Oh wait, no, we've got that coming in 2 years, haven't we? But yeah, controlling a chronivore? Big risk, low reward. Coming in at number 28, bit of a cheat here, this is the Master's plan before Utopia. So basically, the Master has a plan to disguise himself as a human so he can hide from the Time War. And it works. The only reason it's so low down on the list is it doesn't really do much aside from the fact that it works. Coming in at number 27, the Master's plan in Time Flight. Now the plan itself is successful. The Master wants the nucleus of the Xeraphin to help power his TARDIS and escape from prehistoric Earth, and he does that. The reason it's so low down on the list is his method of obtaining it is never adequately explained within the plot. Why is he disguised as Khalid? It can't really be because of the Doctor, because he's surprised when the Doctor turns up. I know it's a remnant of the fact that this script had been kicking around the production office for almost 2 years, but yeah, despite the fact the plan is successful, it doesn't make an awful lot of sense. Coming in at number 26, the Magician's Apprentice and Witch's Familiar plan to find the Doctor. Look, again, this is one that works. Works reasonably well. Missy finds the Doctor twice. Well done? Okay, yeah, I'm still bitter about the fact that we never find out what her plan was with the Daleks at the end. Why wasn't that followed up? Coming in at number 25, it's the Master's plan from the telly movie. Do you remember back in 2012, when 3 major movie franchises all decided that their villain's plan for that year's movie was that they were going to be deliberately captured in order to sow division between the heroes? Well, the Master was doing that almost 20 years earlier in 1996. The Master seems to deliberately want to be captured by the Doctor in order to steal the Doctor's remaining lives. And you know what? Pretty successful. He's captured, makes the ship crash, That leads to the Seventh Doctor's death. Of course, it doesn't really work. The Master is sucked into the Eye of Harmony, only to be spat out 20 years later to appear in Big Finish. Well, we've all been there. I haven't been there. Call me. I'll play a guard, I don't care. Coming in at number 24, it's the Master's Plan from the end of The Sound of Drums and Last of the Time Lords. And this is another resurrection plan. So pretty much the Master conspires to have his DNA left behind in his ring, and he's planted these books of Saxon to be revived later on. And look, this is slightly higher than the telemovie one because he doesn't get sucked into the Eye of Harmony as a direct result. Although he does get taken back to Gallifrey. So yeah, again, kinda successful for a bit. Coming in at number 23, it's the Master's very first plan in the show, in Terror of the Autons. Now, the Master's plan seems to be twofold here. First of all, is to just prank the Doctor, basically, and embarrass him. And look, while that's very satisfying, it's kind of like, it doesn't really succeed, obviously. His other plan here is to help the Nesting consciousness come to Earth, at which point, what? What is his plan here? Because the Doctor points out that Nesting consciousness aren't going to treat him very nicely either, and so the Master helps the Doctor. But what did the Master initially think was going to happen? We never know. It's kind of a pattern that the Master helps people out and then realises, oh, they're probably going to want to kill me. Coming in at number 22, it's Colony in Space. The Master's plan here is to capture the Ixarian superweapon and use it to ransom the universe. Look, he captures the weapon. It's a pretty solid plan, but unfortunately he forgets that the owners are still there and they blow the weapon up. So, it has a nice simplicity to it, but... Coming in at number 21 is the Daemons. So the Master intends to awaken Azal, who is basically the devil, and ask him very nicely to hand over control of Earth to the Master. How does he think that's going to go down? Like, there's literally a cliffhanger where Azal is going to step on him. And Azal then wants to give control to the Doctor anyway, so... Again, really stylish plan, not particularly well thought out. Coming in at number 20, it's the Sea Devils. This is another example of the Master teaming up with a non-human race to give them control of the Earth. However, here, the Sea Devils were on Earth before humans, so there's a sort of moral complexity there. What does the Master want? He wants his freedom. So while the Sea Devils don't get control of Earth, the Master does get his freedom at the end. So this is kind of the first one where the Master is mostly successful, at least from his own perspective, in his plan. Coming in at number 19, it's Dark Water and Death in Heaven for Missys Plan. Now, it's easy to remember what Missy did in this story, and that is convert a bunch of dead people into Cybermen, but what is easier to forget is why. The whole reason Missy did this was to give the Doctor an army. And the Doctor can use that army any way he wants. He can use it to bring peace. Now, of course, the Doctor rejects this, but it's a fascinating thing for the Master to do, and it begins Stephen Moffat exploring the friendship between the Master, or Missy in this case, and the Doctor. It's really fascinating, and kind of succeeds, because the Doctor then encourages Danny to save the world. I have a lot of time for Dark Water and Death in Heaven, though I understand a lot of people don't. And Missy is partially successful in her plan here, as we'll discuss with later Missy entries on the list. Coming in at number 18, it's plan number 1 from Castrovalva. Now, I want to clear up a common misconception with this story. The Master does not send the Doctor into the creation of the universe, into the Big Bang. As Nyssa reads from the TARDIS databank screen, the TARDIS is in fact being sent into the creation of a galaxy, from a similar explosion to the Big Bang, but much, much smaller. However, the plan is a pretty good one, if rather elaborate. The Master uses a block transfer computation impersonation of Adric. Try saying that 3 times fast. Block transfer computation impersonation of Adric. Block transfer computation impersonation of Adric. Block transfer computation impersonation of Adric. Yes! And look, the Doctor only gets out of it by jettisoning a quarter of the TARDIS, so it's pretty successful, even though it doesn't achieve its main aim. Coming in at number 17 is the Master's plan in The Five Doctors. I quite like this one. The Master wants to claim immortality for himself, but this isn't his original plan in the story. His original objective is to help the Doctor in the Death Zone. And none of the Doctors trust him as far as they can throw him, so he just goes, right, well, if you're not going to listen to me, I am just going to claim immortality for myself. Until he's punched in the face by the Brigadier because he didn't see him when he walked into the room? Number 16 is the Master's plan in Survival. Appropriate to the story's title, the Master's plan here is just to survive and escape the planet of the Cheetah People before he becomes one of them. It's quite a tense game of, if you'll pardon the pun, cat and mouse between the Doctor in this one, and it's one of Anthony Ainley's better performances in the role. And I really like how ruthless the Master is here, because he's used the tribe of the Cheetah People to get the Doctor there to help him get off the planet. There's no escape path for the Doctor. The Master is just thinking of himself, and he is making up this plan as he goes along. This really is one of the Master's most cunning plans, as he has to adapt to changing situations. Coming in at number 15, Planet of Fire. And here the Master finds himself in reduced circumstances and has to regain his full size using the numismaton flames of the planet Sarn. And, you know what, mission pretty much accomplished, except he apparently burns to a crisp at the end. And there's also the fact that getting himself in this situation in the first place was kinda stupid, but he shows intelligence by using his link with Chameleon, and it means Chameleon is actually fairly well utilised in a story, for once. He's a shape-changing robot! You could have cast anyone and had him there the whole time! Number 14 is the other plan from Castrovalva. Should the Doctor escape from the hydrogen inrush in the creation of a galaxy, the Master has another plan he would have loved to spring. And because the Doctor does escape from the hydrogen inrush at the creation of a galaxy, the Master has a chance to spring his other trap. It's a fake city run by the Master for the Doctor to recuperate him. However, the Master intends to weaken the Doctor to the point where he can finally destroy him. This is one occasion in the 1980s where the Master's disguise really makes sense, and also a great performance from Anthony Ainley as the Portreeve. It's probably not gonna fool adult viewers too much, but as a kid, I was taken in. Coming in at number 13, it's World Enough in Time, and the Doctor Falls. This episode features another great disguise from the Master in the form of Razor, and his plan is very similar to Survival. The Master is trapped on this ship, and wants the Doctor to help him find a way off it. The reason I'm putting this one up higher, however, is the Master's cunning in impersonating Razor and befriending Bill and spending 10 years watching the Doctor on television with Bill, just like we've just spent 10 series watching new Doctor Who on television as well. And just as he knows the Doctor is about to arrive, allowing Bill to become a Cyberman, and then still expecting the Doctor to help him. It's cunning, it's clever, it's downright diabolical, and in a way it sort of works, because through the Doctor and Missy, he does get off the ship. Somehow. We don't know how, but he's out there. At number 12 is the Master's plan in the Claws of Axos. Now initially, I had this much lower down on the list because it's another example of the Master teaming up with an alien race in order for them to get Earth, and he'll get something out of it too. His freedom in this case, because they had captured him. But then I remembered what happens in the latter part of this story. The Master double-crosses Axos and works with UNIT in order to destroy Axos and hopefully get some sort of pardon. Now, what I like about this is the Master thinks on his feet and serves whoever is going to give him the better deal. Because perhaps he thinks that Axos will come after him anyway, so if he destroys Axos, he gets his freedom anyway, and he can just deal with the Brigadier and win, because, well, he's the Master. It's actually quite a clever plan, especially seeing as it comes from the same people who gave us the I'm gonna control a chronivore idea. Number 11 is the Master's plan in The Trial of a Time Lord, specifically the Ultimate Foe section. we discover in part 13 of Trial of a Time Lord that the Master has been watching along with all of us at home, just like he would later on the Mondasian colony ship as Razor, as formerly mentioned. What I really like about the Master's plan here is the Anthony Ainley Master was often tasked with, oh, and I'm going to kill the Doctor for good measure. Here, he doesn't care too much about what happens to the Doctor. He does give him over to the Valeyard, but doesn't really care what the Valeyard does with him. No, the Master is intending to use everything he's learned to overthrow the High Council and assume control over Gallifrey. And the only reason he doesn't is basically an anti-theft device inside the Matrix tapes that he gets from Sabalom Glitz. Yeah, 80s Doctor Who was filled with a lot of kind of fan jargon, wasn't it? Still a good plan. We enter the top 10 with the Master's plan in the Mind of Evil. The Master's plan in the Mind of Evil is as follows, and we're going to see which of these he achieves. He plans to use a prison full of violent criminals as his own gang. Well, check, he achieves that. He plans to destabilise international relations by using a spy from the Chinese delegation at the World Peace Conference. Tick, achieves that. He then plans to use these two parts of the plan to steal a missile with a warhead of nerve gas, which is on its way to be decommissioned. And tick, he manages that. His overarching plan is to use all of these elements to trigger an international nuclear war, take off in the TARDIS, and then come back and rule over the survivors. That is the only part of his plan he doesn't achieve here, and he is kind of hoist on his own petard by using the mind parasite that he was using to control the prisoners. As the plan goes, it is cunning, it is clever, it is nearly complete, and it has quite a bit of collateral damage as well. If only it wasn't for that meddling pile of pasta with an eye in the middle and green food dye. Coming in at number 9 is the Master's plan in Frontier in Space. This is the plan from the Mind of Evil, but on a grand scale. The Master uses mind control techniques to convince Earth and Draconia that each is attacking the other, in order to destabilise interstellar relations to trigger a massive war, at which point the Daleks will invade the galaxy and the Master asks for Earth to rule over. And for the Doctor to watch and be humiliated. Again, it's a plan that gets pretty far along. And for the Master's part in it, he's successful. It's the Daleks who screw it up. Coming in at number 8 is one of the Master's more recent plans in Spyfall. Again, this is a plan where the Master's part in it basically comes off perfectly. He has allied himself with the Kasavan and Daniel Barton in order to wipe the minds of humanity and turn them into living hard drives, so the Kasavan can invade Earth. And again, it's really just the Kasavan who kind of screw it up here. And also a little bit of the Master's own hubris in thinking that the Doctor can't possibly stop him. Coming in at number 7, it's the main plan from The Sound of Drums and Last of the Time Lords. Now here, the Master spends 18 months working his way up to the Prime Minister of Great Britain in order to turn Earth into a giant munitions factory to then wage war on the rest of the universe. And he succeeds. But he also doesn't, because the paradox he has created is undone, rewinding everything to just after the American president was killed. Some political commentary there from Mr. Russell T Davies. But for a year that the Doctor, the Master, Lucy, Jack, and the Jones family all remember, the Master won. Pipping that one ever so slightly at number 6 is the Master's plan in The End of Time. So why does this one end up a little bit higher? Well, the Master's plan is to turn everyone on Earth into another version of him. And while it is reversed, it's not erased from time, it still happened. There's also a certain piquancy that the Master does this to the Doctor's favourite planet, erasing the human race and having only the Master in their image. And we'll be coming back to this theme a bit later. Coming in at number 5 is the Deadly Assassin. Once again, the Master has a multi-phase plan. First of all, he assassinates the President and frames the Doctor. Tick, that is done. He does this in order to get access to the presidential relics, which will give him access to the Eye of Harmony. Tick, he gets that done. He wants to use the Eye of Harmony to replenish his life cycle and destroy Gallifrey in the process. Now, while he doesn't destroy Gallifrey, the end of the episode does imply that he siphoned off enough energy to keep going. Whether he got more regenerations or not is open to conjecture, but the Master's plan is at least a partial success here. Coming in at number 4, it's Legopolis. While the Master does directly attack the Doctor in this story, the Doctor acknowledges that that's just a sideshow to the main event, which is taking control of Legopolis in order to hold the universe to ransom. And the Master is at least partially successful. Legopolis crumbles, and he and the Doctor are given control of the program that will keep the universe alive. Which means the Master has the power to end the universe or to save it. Part of the universe is destroyed in the process, including Nissa's home planet of Trochan. And it's only prevented by the Doctor ripping out a cable and giving his own life to stop the Master. It is kind of weird though. The Master probably retains the program, so why does he never try to do it again? Coming in at number 3 is the Keeper of Trochan. Immediately prior to Legopolis, the Master plans to take control of the source, the energy source of the Trochan Union that allows it to live in peace and harmony. His intention is to use it again to replenish his life cycle, to give himself full mobility as he's been trapped inside his TARDIS for over 2 decades. And this is a plan where the Master is fully successful. He uses the power of the Source to overtake Nissa's father Tremas, and that gives him his new body. He escapes, and as I mentioned before, Trochan is later destroyed, indirectly through his actions. So this is one where the Master gets exactly what he wants. Coming in at number 2, and this is going to be controversial, it is the Master's plan in The Timeless Children. Once again, this is one where we just see the aftermath. The Master on Gallifrey has discovered the truth about the Doctor. She is the timeless child. She is the template for all Time Lord society. And as he is so jealous of the Doctor, he can't stand this. And that jealousy has been there right from the beginning. Look at the scene in The Mind of Evil where he imagines the Doctor laughing at him. So the Master wipes out all life on Gallifrey. Again. And he's successful in that. The Time Lords are dead. And then he recreates them in his own image, using Cybermen. And that's why they're called the Cyber Masters and not the Cyber Lords. It doesn't matter that the Doctor didn't want this in the first place, the Master just has to be better than her. And again, this is a plan where the Master succeeds. Where he doesn't succeed is in breaking the Doctor's spirit. That is his intention, it causes a lot of reflection, but the Doctor comes back and crushes a bunch of Daleks. So what could possibly be number 1? It is the most unusual plan of all. At number 1, we have Missys Plan for the whole of Series 10, Redemption. During Series 10, Missy is locked in a vault for her crimes, and the Doctor has agreed to watch over her and attempt to rehabilitate her. And we see that character development in little scenes throughout the series before it culminates in the finale. And from the Doctor's perspective, Missy does betray him and go off with the Master. But we, the viewer, knows that at the last minute, she wants to return to the Doctor's side. She wants to help and she wants to try and save people. But instead, the Master kills her. Her act of redemption is, as the Doctor has said, without hope, without witness, and without reward, and yet she still does it. The Master, at the beginning of her imprisonment, sets out to regain her friendship with the Doctor, and in doing so, redeem herself for her past crimes. And she does that. The Doctor may not know it, but she does it. Whew! So, there you have it. 31 plans of the Master ranked. As I said, if you disagree, please let me know in the comments. If I've forgotten one, please let me know in the comments. If there's worse stuff that's happened in the audios, I may well know about that, or I may not have heard them yet. I'm about 5 years behind on Big Finish, I think. As for the novels, I am still reading Doctor Who and the Pit. Would not recommend. Now, if you want more of this kind of nonsense, you can find my channel by searching for Brandy Bongos on YouTube. It is the home of Doctor Who Say Something Nice, and the home of Doctor Who in 10 Seconds, as well as lots of other lovely Doctor Who related content. Once again, I would like to thank you all for watching. I would like to thank Matt for inviting me on, and I did promise you would see what I am wearing on my legs. So here we go. Release the camera! Super Mario leggings! Once again, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the Whoniversals. Check me out on Brandy Bongos. Keep yourself safe. Wash your hands, wear your mask outside, and I will see you in another video.